I tell you, out of everything he's done, the greatest moment for me was when he got that call.
Yeah.
That
Who was the call from? What was the call?
The Hall of Fame.
Oh, man. I texted him, right? I was like, man.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. I was just like, yeah. That was, you look at it, he's still smiling now.
Yeah.
You know, because you just don't know.
Nah.
All right, bang, bang. Welcome to week 7, episode 7 of Rebuilded with Tim Grover and Eddie. Tim, how we doing today?
So would you have week 7 and episode 6 or week 7 and episode 8?
That's where, can I be honest with you? That's where I'm getting tripped up because so it's week 7 for the audience, but I just ended week, I don't know. I'm getting tripped up on the weeks now. This is episode 7 though. I do know that. I could look it up. I had my whole.
No, that's all right. That's all good. I'm just like.
No. The same thing. I'm telling you. So I think I'm personally 6 weeks in though.
Right.
Of like getting back into the groove of things. I think I'm down like 26 or so. So I'm feeling good.
Great. My goal for the 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I'm sharing this. Was for you to be down 30.
Okay.
So if you're 26 now, that doesn't mean once you get to 30,
you just take the foot off.
Keep
the gas.
going.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I mean that's.
Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
You take down that, but it's just like there's a lot to go.
Yeah.
There's a lot to go, man.
Yeah.
But
you know what? There's 30 of it less to go.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
That's how you do it. Now that becomes your starting point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then
every single day when you weigh yourself or where it is, that's your new starting point, whether it's up or it's down.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the starting point is.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I just got to lock it down because now it's tough. So we're recording the way this episode's dropping. We're a little ahead. So it's, Memorial Day's this weekend. It's the real kickoff of summer. And we talked about all that.
Yeah.
So it's going to be the tough part for sure.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like I put, head down, was since, I did it myself from mid-November to, to February. And then obviously we've been doing this since about mid-April, I think it was. So, but I feel good though.
So what you do, and the simplest way to handle this is you get yourself, if you're going to celebrate, whether you're going to celebrate Memorial Day weekend or Memorial Day, get on the scale, see what you weigh, and give yourself, say, hey, listen, I do want to go off the wagon a little bit. I want to have a little extra. What is your leeway? Is it a pound? Is it 2 pounds? Is it 5 pounds during the time? What it's different for each individual. So you can monitor yourself. So let's say if you're going to do a Labor Day weekend, all right. So let's say it starts on a Friday. All right. Get on the scale. See where that. Say I'm going to give myself 5 pounds of enjoyment. All right. On the first day, if you're up 1.5 pounds, you got 3.5 more pounds of enjoyment. You get back on the scale, and you're up another 3. All right. Now you have even less. So that way you get to see how much of control you're in.
No, that's helped a lot too. Like the first time we met. I told you I had just finished my whole 90-day thing that I talked about earlier in the series. And I was like, I'm giving myself this week. And you're like, well, don't think of it as a time. Think of it as a weight thing. Like give yourself 5 to 7 pounds. Like he's like, because if, you could put on 13 in a week or something,
Listen, as much as I enjoy working out and I enjoy food even more. Mm-hmm. So I know how much it can fluctuate in just 3-4 days.
Yeah, the specials.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've seen it. I've felt it. Mm-hmm. So I know.
Yeah, so I'm feeling good. Everything's going well, and it's crazy. This is already the second to last one. And actually, our guest coming on later in the show is Tracy McGrady, a former client of yours.
Yes,
it was nice to sit down and talk with Tracy.
It was. I haven't seen him in a while. He's doing such unbelievable things. That new basketball league, he's also part of a sports agency that represents clients now, and still doing TV from time to time, and he's transitioned into the business world.
Yeah, no, he really has,
Yeah.
and it was crazy how it worked out because he was in town for that, and our booking here, our Chicago booking team for Barstool, they reached out and they're like, "Hey, Tracy's going to be here. Do you want to go?" And I remember I was telling you like, "Hey, we're doing this for our other show," and you're like, "Oh yeah, I worked with Tracy," and I was like, "Oh, it's at this facility." And on the west side, and then you're like, oh yeah, that was my gym, and I was like, oh wow, I was like, I had no idea, and so that's where we did it from. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're gonna see obviously the change in setting, and to go through that whole place, and to know the history behind it, and to know like the blood, sweat, tears, everything you put into that was really cool for me, and I kind of want to get into that today because I know. You talked in the first episode, you're like, everyone goes through a rebuild, whether it be me with a weight challenge, whether it be you, whether it be whoever listening with a work thing. And I was just kind of interested to get into your situation, Tim, going from, these awesome pickup games that we talked about with Dwayne a couple episodes to shifting over to a couple books, speaking engagements, and still working with athletes, but a different thing. And like you said, going to them. So it's just, the whole thing is interesting to me.
Well, yeah. So, when you look at a rebuild, I don't want people just to think of a rebuild as, their body. There's a rebuild of your mind. There's a rebuild of your career. There's a rebuild of your confidence. There's a whole different things that are constantly being rebuilt on a consistent basis, on a regular basis. And if you don't rebuild these things, that's when you get stagnant. That's when you get bored. That's when your routine starts to get stale. So people, you have to think about these different things of how the rebuild will evolve you into taking that next step, being able to continue to get better, to chase your dreams, to be able to catch those things and become better on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you guys have another term for it, correct? You guys call it elevating?
We call it elevating. Yeah, when you rebuild yourself, all right, what are you elevating yourself to? When I talk about the steps, every time you walk up a step, you've elevated a little higher, and higher. So every time you walk up a step, whether you see that step or you don't see that step, you're working to elevate yourself. So with each rebuild that you personally do for yourself or for your family, for the individuals around, you don't want to go laterally. All right. You take that next step to elevate yourself. You take that next step to elevate yourself. You take that next step to elevate yourself, which means you have to constantly keep climbing. Most people, when they're rebuilding, they reach for a rebuild. They're reaching for something. Well, your reach is limited. All right. But if you constantly climb, your reach expands even more, and that's how you elevate yourself.
Mm-hmm. And so when MJ retired in '98, when did the facility come about? When did this whole thing? When did it start?
The facility was built in 2007. I mean, it was just a plot of land. It took almost 3 years to build it. Mm-hmm. With the design work and everything. And what I wanted to do was I wanted a facility like none other. Like I mean, literally a one-stop shop for athletes. That was it. So they didn't have to leave. I mean, we fed them, we trained them, we did their rehab for them. We provided them rooms to take naps and sleep in, which had special air and oxygen being pumped into that room. We had a salon in there so they could get their hair cut, their manicure, pedicures. We had a car wash so they could just pull in there, and we have individuals washing their cars for them inside and out. Their meal preps were done there. So if they had certain dietary restrictions, the meals were done for them. Had a lounge area where they could play cards, video games, all the latest games, everything. So they literally did not have to leave. Showers, hot tubs, cold tubs, underwater treadmills, you name it, we had it. We did their laundry for them, everything.
Mm-hmm. And it was like, I'm telling you, just going through it with you was so cool to me, because it was, you could tell that in its day, it was just immaculate. And the details you put into it, like the sinks were higher because they're all 6'5", 6'5" and over, and just seeing everything and imagining those games that, people love to talk about and people love to think about, and being an NBA fan and whatnot. It was cool. And it was definitely like a cool experience just to walk through, for sure.
Yeah. And then, you know what? During that time, it served a purpose for my business. It served a purpose for what I was trying to elevate myself during that time, was to take athletes to a level they had never achieved before, taking athletes who had been told that they have career-ending injuries and bringing them back, such as a Tracy McGrady. And just being able to create an environment for these individuals to excel and just become the best at their craft. And we did it for a considerably long period of time, and then it was time for me to go in a different direction. It was a time for another rebuild for me. This was a rebuild of the facility. Now it's time to think of another rebuild. I mean, there was this big lockout, and the athletes weren't coming in as much anymore because of they didn't know when the lockout was going to be, what their pay situation was going to be. Chicago, for the historians that people don't know, that Chicago was up for getting the Olympics, and that didn't happen. So we had a deal with USA Basketball to do some stuff in the facility, and since that didn't happen, so there was different things. I was like, okay, let's start looking at different ways. And what happened was, majority of my high-end athletes, they were like, listen, we need you personally to spend more time with us wherever we're at, because as they gotten older, they got families. The kids have to go to school. They don't want to pick everybody up and be in Chicago for 2-3 months. And those individuals, they only wanted to see me. So all that came in my next elevation of what was next. Then during that time, I connected with my business partner and agent, Sherry Wank, and we came up with the concept of writing a book in Relentless from the start to end. That took us from the day we sat down to the day of publication or the book was released. It was literally 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Of doing that. And I had no idea when we did that rebuild together where it was going to take us, where the next evolution was going to be.
Was it kind of daunting having that shift? Like, where you're like, wow, I just, this facility and this is what I've only known, going into this new thing? Were you nervous
it wasn't
about it?
Because you know what? It's funny. Individuals, and it's whether you're an athlete, a business person, a podcaster, or whatever, you have to understand that at some point there is going to be another rebuild. There's going to be a shift in the business. I knew MJ wasn't going to play forever. I knew Kobe wasn't going to play forever. Dwayne and all my clients, they're not going to play. They're not going to play forever. So in your mind, you have to understand that there is an expiration dates on certain things that you're doing. And as the kids get younger, all right, they want to deal with somebody who's a little closer to their age, who has a same interest. So for me, I knew that process was always going to happen. I knew it was always going to come. And it was funny, back in the day, from a speaking standpoint, my father always wanted to write a book. And one of my biggest moments was when I wrote the book and gave it to him. So, he said, "You're continuing my dreams." And so, it was, so some of these things were just kind of like generational things. He had the thought, which I never knew he did, and I kind of completed it for him. And even when I was much younger, before I even started training, I used to there used to be this you could contact different speakers bureaus, and they would send you VHS tapes of speakers that they represented. So I would just order a bunch of tapes, all that, just to see what they were doing. All these different individuals that would speak. I was like, you know what? I said, someday I can do that.
Yeah.
I said, I know I can do that. The book, it was always in my mind, but having to find the right person to write that book and take my thoughts, to write that book with me and to take my thoughts and ideas and actually understand what I was talking about, because everybody was like, well, Relentless was a huge rebuild for me because everybody just knew me as the physical component guy that took care of the physical stuff. And they never understood the whole mentality of what else was involved in our training. So that was a using, and then trying to find somebody that didn't want me to write a quote unquote workout book. I said this is not an exercise book. So that's a major step, major elevation, major rebuild, and knowing that, hey, this is the next evolution for me.
And because you had other opportunities to write books before too, right?
Oh, yes. You know, I
don't know I know you've shared that story with me. I don't know if you said it publicly or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I had a very lucrative deal that was actually done again by Sherry, but we weren't actually business partners, and she was an agent that we hired, and everything was done, and the final thing was I had to sign the contract, and I'm not going to name the client, but I told the client I'm going to write this book, and he said, I can't tell you not to, but he goes, I prefer that you don't.
Yeah.
And then I said, fine.
I
called her up. I said, we're not doing this. I paid her for her time. You know, she was highly upset that we walked away from this deal, but that was part of the rebuild.
Yeah.
You know, we kept in contact over there. The part of the rebuild was, okay, now that when I decide to do this, I have the person in place who can help me start this new rebuild.
So when that kind of shifted, when were the last of those real big games where everybody was coming here? Do you remember the year, like when there was the last of that?
The real big games was, let's say, I'd say either 2017, 2018.
2007 or 2008 or
what's that?
2007.
2017.
Yeah, 2007.
Yeah, it started in 2007, and when it went for good, 10, 11 years, and even you could see that the shifting. You could just see that Chicago no longer was the place that these individuals wanted to come. It was like, all right, let's go to Vegas. Let's go to Miami. Let's go to LA. We still had our core individuals because the way I ran the place and the way I ran the gym was it was very intense. It was very, very regimented. It was very strict. It wasn't here's the thing. You couldn't play in the pickup games unless you went through the whole workout during the day. So it wasn't like you just show up. Our game started at 2:00. Yeah. It wasn't like you can just show up at 1:30 and come in and say, all right, I'm going to play ball. No, you had to go through our whole training protocol, all our regimens, all our rehabs and so forth. And if you were coming in to play if you were coming to play in at 2 and you didn't do that, you had to stay afterwards. So everything was, we built it like a training camp, like a practice would be. It was very structured. You're just not coming in to play pickup ball. Yeah. So the reward to play pickup ball, to play in these pickup games, you had to go through everything else first. And it was strictly only for professional NBA players. That was it. We had other individuals that were around. All right. And I would tell them, listen, you could be here for 6 weeks and not play. But at least if you're here, you may get a chance if a player needs to leave early or something goes down. There's four NBA courts. So we had 40 guys going Monday through Thursday, playing in these games. 40 NBA players. Back then it was called the D League, not the D League, NBA players.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people talk about this new generation about how like they're all buddy and friends and stuff. That's interesting that they were kind of still all training together and kind of all doing things together as well. Was it like that then? Like, do you feel like it was like a big camaraderie thing between these guys, or was it more like, hey, we're just trying to get better, and to get better, I got to be going up against you?
Oh, listen, the matchup, they support each other. Everybody supported each other, but it was competitive. It was like, listen, I'm trying to get the advantage. I'm trying to get the advantage here. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like, listen, hey, I'm gonna take it easy on you. There would be certain guys that would say, hey, I want to guard him. I want to match up with him, and we would like, okay, and we would mix the teams up all the time. So you were playing against other individuals, and that when we talked about rebuilding the confidence, you have individuals that may have not been as confident playing against another individual. So that was a place to get your to rebuild your confidence, to work on new moves. We would teach people, our skills guys would teach the athletes new types of shots, new types of footworks, and we gave them an opportunity to rebuild those things into their game. Because otherwise, if you didn't get a chance to practice them there was no way you were going to go to the facility. So even as talented as these individuals were, each summer they were constantly elevating and rebuilding something in their game, physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever it may be.
Do you miss that era?
I mean, I miss it, but I accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish in it. Mm-hmm. And now there's other individuals that are out there that do similar things that I did in the past, and they've done it a little differently. It's more, it's probably geared a little bit more towards entertainment and social media, and letting different people from all forms to come in and play in the games and get involved in there, which is what the athletes want now. Which is what they want. They want to be associated with the music artists and so forth. They want to play pickup with that. They want to put stuff on social media. They want to do these things. I mean, people said the one thing about that facility was like, if reality TV was around then, we'd have had the number one show for the next for the 11 years. Yeah, because the stuff that went in there, the stuff that was seen, and it was going. I can't even talk about those things.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. I'm sure. What was it like going through it again, walking through there?
You know what? You have to, in order to rebuild, you have to disconnect. You got to leave things behind. You have the memory of it. You have what you've accomplished from it. But how can you can't rebuild something if you're constantly still looking at what you've built in the past and thinking that was your pinnacle. Well, it's what's next. Listen, it's been utilized in a completely different way than what we were doing it for. But it's like, it's nice to be able to see and be able to take you in there and show you the different things and see what was involved in there. But it's a part of me. It's not me. It's a part, and every rebuild is another part you add. It's like another Lego piece that you add. All right. And each Lego piece I add is never next to the next Lego piece. It's always on top.
Yeah. And it's just, and I think this relates to the audience, people who are maybe in a career that then they want to shift to this, and they want like, hey, what can I do differently? And because obviously you could imagine like just what was going on there was just so next level, and then obviously you've gone on to something completely different. That's awesome too.
Yeah. Which I know is next level. And the one thing what I wanted to do is like, when you're working with athletes, all right, professional athletes, you can only touch a small scope of the population. You can only touch a small scope of those individuals. Very high profile individuals, all right, very successful individuals that are trying to gain, 5%, 4%, 1% better. But the next rebuild for me was, how can I take this to help everyone, not as much from a athletic standpoint, but from a mental standpoint. Understand how can we help rebuild individuals' minds with the things that they're dealing with, what they're going through. Because I consider everybody an athlete in one way or another. All right, you may not be physically doing something, but you have to compete in something every single day. Hey, we're competing against other podcasts out there, for ratings and listeners and all this other stuff. So you're competitive. You're competitive in a different way. Whether you're in a job environment, you're constantly competing and doing in there. You have to have the correct mindset. You have to have that winning mindset, that relentless desire to constantly not only compete. I would say individuals, everyone knows how to compete, but very few individuals know how to win. So when you rebuild yourself to compete, but the next rebuild on how to win is what I wanted to take to the masses through the different books, through the speaking engagements. That was what needed to be done. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it's been an interesting ride.
It's been an interesting ride. I mean, it's been an interesting ride. It's been a success. It's been a successful ride. I've got a chance to, I always say it's very interesting where a ball has taken me in life.
Yeah,
it is. It's taken me around. It's taken me around the world. And what it is, we'll have individuals that will sit with. You get a chance to interview a extremely competitive athlete, all right, but with me being inundated in their lives, allowed me to see stuff that very few people got a chance to see. So yeah,
you know where some bodies are buried, I would say.
Yes. All right, and I helped bury some of those bodies, so I know exactly where they're at, and we had to dig up some of those bodies too at some time.
Yeah.
So, there's a different things, but understand what actually makes these individuals tick. It's just, well, we said this in winning. It's just like, as Michael very rarely speaks. And, unfortunately, Kobe can't. But I was around those individuals for so long that they spoke to me. And I don't share all the wisdom with everyone, but I'm blessed enough to share some of it that I think is very crucial for individuals to be able to rebuild themselves and constantly grow and evolve and elevate into the person that they want to be.
And why don't you share all of it?
At some point, there's some things that you know what you can share and what you can't, and what you can't share. And that was one of the reasons I was around these athletes for such a long time, because there's a trust there, and they don't even have to tell you, to say, hey, that's for your ears only, or that's for your eyes only. There's certain competitive advantages that these individuals, when MJ wants to share it, he'll share it. All right. And I'm sure when there's certain things that when the Bryant family wants to share it, they'll share it. But, I see a lot of stuff on different social media platforms, especially things that Kobe puts up, Dwayne puts up, and some of these people that they put up on a regular basis. And I know that message has actually been softened a little bit because if it was so, in real life, it was so intense. It was so intense. Everyone talks about Mamba Mentality, and they've done this about, I'm going to rebuild myself with the Mamba Mentality. And I've said this before, it wasn't a mentality, it was a lifestyle. I've seen individuals who have tried to incorporate Mamba Mentality into their lifestyle, where it's actually done more, it's been more detrimental to their careers than it's actually helped. That you may be able to handle it for a season, but to make it a lifestyle and commit to it over and over and over again, it's for a very, 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 very select few.
Just depends who you are.
Very, very select few. Mm-hmm. A very small population. And then even athletes that I haven't had a chance to work with and talk to. We did a event with Michael Phelps, and he spoke. I can't remember if I spoke first or he spoke afterwards. I don't remember which one it was, but I've always wanted to meet him. And it was funny. He's up there giving he was giving I think it might have been a Q&A. It might have been a Q&A, and he was giving this and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, and Sherry's at the event with me, and we're like, did he read Relentless? Everything he was saying was literally right out of the book about his training, his mentality, his coach, everything, his obsession, all that other stuff. And then I got a chance to talk to him. I was like, listen, did you? He goes, I haven't read your book yet.
Wow. It just overlapped.
It's
with the
just,
type of person
it's
he
the
was.
Way,
yeah.
Yes, it's the way these individuals think, the way they prepare. It's that small. It doesn't happen by mistake. These companies don't get to be, billion-dollar companies, multi-billion-dollar companies. Individuals don't get to have all this financial success or have all this success in whatever they're doing. It may not be fine. It doesn't happen by accident. There's a constant rebuild
going on.
That's going on with them, and everybody looks at the rebuild from a physical standpoint. But these individuals are literally rebuilding themselves, maybe even on a daily basis.
And did you work with Kobe up until his death, or what?
No, I did not. But we always stayed in contact quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean.
So I was with Kobe up to the point where. With the rehab of the torn Achilles.
Yeah. And outside of like the fierce competitor, he just seemed like a good dude.
He was a great guy.
Yeah.
A very intense, great individual, but no nonsense, had a great sense of humor, extremely intelligent. and smart. I mean, he spoke like 4 or 5 different languages fluently. Everyone knows about, obviously English. Everybody knows that he spoke Italian. He spoke Spanish. He was extremely fluent in Mandarin and Chinese, because he knew he wanted to be able to communicate with the people down there. And, you can see the videos of him. He was talking, to Luka Doncic, in Sylvania. So he learned his language so he could kind of trash talk him a little bit from the bench. So he was extremely intelligent from a business savvy standpoint. Very, 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 very smart, very, very articulate.
Yeah.
And that's the rebuild. That's the constant evolution and a constant elevation of rebuilding yourself.
Damn. That had to be horrible, obviously, that day for you. And
oh, yeah. Oh. Mm.
Yeah, awful. But all right, thanks, Tim. That was interesting to see how it kind of worked. And like I said, I think a lot of people would be speaking to a lot of people who are trying to switch, a career, relationship, whatever. So
you got to constantly, listen. You got to constantly rebuild. There are things when you get comfortable, and we all get comfortable. You get comfortable in your relationships. You get comfortable in your job. You get comfortable in your success. All right, and as you become more and more comfortable in these things, it becomes harder to rebuild and continue to take those steps. That's why I said, people get their routines out of comfort because it's safe. Okay. A rebuild requires a lot of courage, and it requires a lot of confidence. And listen, one of the things that we say, all right, the more you win, the more confident you'll get. So the more you have the ability to rebuild yourself and to go out and not only try, but do these new things, do these experiences that you want, the rebuilding process continues to grow.
Yeah, and I think we could just take us into our guest for today. We talked about him earlier in the show, Tracy McGrady, a guy who went through his own serious rebuild. So we get into your rehab with him and just kind of his NBA career. So it was a fun interview. It was good to sit down with him in person. So let's just kick it over to T-Mac. Hey, before we get into Tracy McGrady, though, I do want to talk about the presenting sponsor of this show. And it's none other than the Gametime app. It is the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. You guys know the drill by now. It's created by fans for fans. Gametime is a new ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. They really cracked the code on how to score last-minute deals and last-minute tickets. So go check them out. I know, listen, if you're in Colorado and you caught on here from the Russell Wilson interview, make sure you're using this to get your Avalanche Stanley Cup tickets. Or there's 30 teams in Major League Baseball. Nothing better than catching a ball game in the summer. There's really not. It's Americana. It truly is. So I can't wait to go see that. Maybe I'm going to go to the Cubs Padres this weekend. So look out for that. And the purchase process, it takes 2 taps and 10 seconds. And once you buy your tickets, they're delivered directly to your phone. No printer needed. The app allows you to easily share tickets as well with friends via text so you can get into the game seamlessly. Skip the hassle. Enjoy the moment. Download the Gametime app. Go to the account tab to create a login and redeem code REBUILD for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Download Gametime. Last-minute tickets. Lowest prices guaranteed. All right, let's hop into Tracy McGrady. All right, so we are at the Ones Basketball League event in Chicago. We're joined by Hall of Famer Tracy McGrady, former Tim Grover client. Tracy, thanks for doing this. Welcome to the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right, so how did this happen? How did the relationship with you and Tim happen?
Oh, my goodness. You want to go ahead and take that?
You go. You take the lead.
Well, Tracy, obviously one of the best to ever play the game, had a severe knee injury and had gone through a lot of different individuals that we just couldn't get the result. And literally, Tracy, him and I made contact, he decided to come down here, and actually this facility, man, we were at it. I couldn't tell you how the hours and the months and the years we spent, because it was a microfracture surgery, and back then that was like new.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So 2009 is when I had my microfracture surgery, and I was, going from doctor to doctor to see, who was the best at performing that surgery. And I got notified that the doctor here in Chicago was the best. And it really worked out into my favor, because I knew I had to get with somebody that knew the body and knew how to get me back right. And Tim was here. I know his history, had a relationship with him, reached out to him, told him I was having microfracture surgery and I need to rehab with him. It was a lot of tough hours, a lot of tough days. And for me, it was just trying to prove that I could get back on the basketball court. That's what I wanted to prove to myself, because I know microfracture surgery is tough to come back from that. I knew I wasn't going to be the player that I once was, but I had to prove to myself that I could get back, and I had to go with the best to help me get back, and Tim was that guy.
How'd you feel coming here now after that? Now you're doing something different, but you're still trying to prove a concept. You're trying to prove the one's basketball league. So
it feels good to be back here. I haven't been back in this building since, rehabbing. So that was back in 2009. Wow. To come back and have my league be a part of this is, it's bittersweet, because I hated coming here. After about, I was coming for probably about 9-10 months, man, of being in this building every single day, just relentless.
Every day.
Every day, bro.
I'm talking about every day, not like taking Sundays off, 4 days a week. This was every single. He was so committed.
Yeah.
He ended up, moving the family here, having facility. I mean, we hired him a chef. There was a place to live, and all the equipment in here was geared towards getting an individual with this kind of spirit, with this kind of work ethic, to be able to say, hey, listen, what did he say? I'm not trying to prove anybody else wrong. I'm just trying to prove myself right. I need to get back out. I need to get back out on this court.
So it's good to be back, but with a different business.
Yeah, different thing to do. What year was that around when you were
That was 2009.
2009.
Yeah.
Talk about a rebuild. Because the show is called Rebuild. You talk about a rebuild, an individual that's rebuilt himself over and over and over again.
Yeah, was that like toughest part of the career around those years?
Without a shadow of a doubt, right? It was probably the darkest time of my career, right? Because you fight, so hard to get in the best shape, to be the best version of yourself every off season, go into that season, and you expect great things, right, out of yourself individually and out of your team. And I kept falling short as a team. Individually, I was having great years, but as a team, I was falling short because I just didn't have the right pieces around me. So 2009, I have my microfracture surgery, and this is the year, actually 2008, 2009, we get run our tests, right, to join the Rockets. I feel this is our chance to win a championship, or at least compete for one, right? Because we have all the pieces that we need. And my knee blows out on me, right? So you can understand, up until that point, no playoff success. Get the piece that we need, that I feel that we can contend for a championship, and my knee blows out and I can't play. So that was probably the darkest time of my career. And to, get through that was very challenging. But it was something that I accepted and had to push myself through it. And like you say, it was a really grind mode and just locked in and try to prove to myself that I could get back on the basketball court.
When people say they work out 3 times a day, 8 hours a day, he was in here a minimum of 8 hours a day.
It had to be.
Yeah.
It wasn't an option.
Yeah.
What was it that like kept you going? Was it desire to be great, desire to get a ring? What was your?
It was the desire to get back on the court. Yeah. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to get back on the court. You understand? This is microfracture surgery. Nobody comes back from this and is the same player, right? Because it is to help grow cartilage in your knee, artificial cartilage. My cartilage was gone. Right, so microfractures to help grow artificial cartilage, and I wasn't the same player. I didn't even feel the same. But once I got through the rehab and training regimen, I felt that I was good enough to get on the basketball court, make an NBA team, and that in itself proved that I put in a lot of work, and I came out on top of that. Now, I wasn't the same player, but I proved that I can work my butt off and get back on the basketball court, which was very, very challenging.
For people that are unfamiliar with microfracture surgery, they literally drill holes.
In your
In your knee.
Really?
They drill holes. Yeah. Like I'm talking about like with a drill. In order to try to stimulate this growth and put this stuff in there.
Yeah. So my rehab process consisted of me and a machine for 8 hours out the day, just laying on my back and the machine just rotating my leg up and down.
Really?
Yeah.
We just saw that underwater treadmill he just showed me.
Yeah.
He said he used that a lot too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There wasn't an inch in this place.
I touched everything. Every equipment in there I touched.
And what time did he get here when he came?
Well, you know what? Tracy, listen, he had if you have to spend 8 to 10 hours a day, and we had a staff, but Tracy was my guy. He came in to work with me, so I took personal. This was personal to me. This was personal to me. So he wasn't handed off to staff and say, "Hey, go handle this." There's certain guys that only I was allowed to touch, and then if we had other staff members doing it, I was like, "This is what I want you doing. This is what I want you doing with this individual." Obviously, we'd like him. We would like him to get here about 8, 9 o'clock. But listen, when you're in here until 5, 6 p.m. and you got to go home, it did not. Tracy, everyone knows Tracy. For people that don't know, Tracy loves his sleep. Loves his sleep. All right, I don't know if that's changed now. But back in the day, he loved his sleep. Do
you still love to sleep?
I love to sleep, bro.
How many hours?
It's not that I get a lot of hours at night. It's during the day I take naps.
Yeah.
So if I wake up, 8 o'clock in the morning, I eat breakfast, and I got to go lay back down for at least 2 hours.
And are you like an on-command guy? Like you get on an airplane and you're out?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we take off.
Really?
I can have slept 10 hours, catch an early morning flight, and I'm back to sleep on the plane.
That's a gift.
For sure. Like when I fly to China, bro, the China flight is like 15 hours. I probably sleep 10 of them.
That's a gift.
Yeah.
That might be. Yeah.
And for people that know, huge in China. Yeah. Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just names, billboard, people go. There's certain people that own that market in that basketball thing.
Yeah.
Him.
For sure.
And KB.
Yep.
God rest his soul.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and that's what I wanted to ask too, because I just miss Jordan. I was born in the '90s, and you and Iverson were my guys, and it's you had a tremendous career, obviously Hall of Famer, and but is there any part of you that kind of views yourself as a what if because of the knee injury?
No, not at all. I think for me it was just all about preparation, preparing myself for that season and whatever the results were. Whether it was with Grant Hill, without Grant Hill, with Yao Ming, without Yao Ming, it didn't matter. My job was to go out there and perform, and the results are what they ended up being.
That's what I had that too. If you had to pick, who do you think? If you would have had, say, 4 solid, healthy years, you and the two, Grant Hill or Yao Ming?
Well, we would have played for it. Grant and I would have played for a championship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I took as the number 8 seed and as the number 8 seed, I took the number 1 seed to 7 games, and felt like something happened in that 7th game.
Yeah.
You
what
know
happened?
Because up until that point, we were golden.
Yeah.
Controlling the whole series. But we were 8th seed, you know.
What did you feel happened?
I felt that it was taken away from us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Let's leave that alone
Yeah.
right there. Let's not go any farther
Yeah.
on that one. All right. Yeah. All right. Because he's very involved in the media, and this thing that can get twisted the
Yeah.
wrong way.
Yeah.
I got to protect. I'm always protecting my guys. I'm always protecting.
Hey,
You know
you
where
can't
I'm
get in
going.
no trouble anymore.
You know where I'm
Yeah,
going.
yeah. No, I got you.
No.
So this league, the One's basketball league. So this is a new thing.
Listen, man. I first of all, I for the love of me, I don't know why no one years ago didn't think of this idea of creating one-on-one. You have tennis, you have boxing, you have UFC. Basketball is a game you can play one-on-one, and it should be global, right? Where I think we found our niche is we're gonna create a ranking system, right? And there's just something about a ranking system put on sports. And I go back to like when I was discovered. For my 11th grade year, right, I was top player. I grew up in Central Florida, top player in my area. Outside of that, whether it was up north, way down south, west, like people ain't know who Tracy McGrady was. Outside of the state, people didn't know who I was. I got invited to the Adidas camp, which is, you know, the elite high school players in the nation. And coming out of that, they ranked their players. Well, I just happened to get invited to this camp, go through it, and I came out ranked number 1 in the country, right? So now everybody knows who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing changed with me. I just got on the ranking system.
Yeah.
With OBL creating a ranking system, now it gives fans and, you know, people that love the game of basketball to identify who these players are, because all we're doing is just really creating a platform similar to what UFC did for their fighters. We didn't know who the hell their fighters were before they got on their platform, right? So all OBL is creating stars, giving them a platform to make a name for themselves. Hopefully we have some guys with great game, great skill set, with a great personality that fans can attach themselves to, have a ranking system, right? Causes for debates of who should be ranked number 1. That's all we're creating.
Yeah. And what I heard too, I was talking to someone here who's helping you out. It was an attention span thing too, helps you out. You're watching with your kids.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So I have 2 sons, 16 and 13. And my sons do not watch NBA basketball. They do not watch NCAA basketball, but they watch YouTube, right? Because it's short form content on there that highlights.
Yep.
They love that. And with that information, and I also have AAU program. Kids are the same. All these Gen Z kids, it's gotta be short form content. You know, that's why they so in love with TikTok and all these social media videos, right? Because it's short form. They don't want to sit there and watch 2 hours, 2.5 hours live sporting events. But what I'm giving them is short form, right? Because the games only go to 7. So if there's a 7-0 blowout and you get bored with that, another one is right after, right? So it's just, you know, something to just keep them engaged. And they love it. Listen, I used to work for ESPN and travel to the NBA finals. Not once did my son ask me, could he go? Daddy, could I go to the finals with you? Could I
Really?
go? Not once. And he knows where I'm going, right? Because I show him the photos. Look who I was with last night. I took him, the first OBL was in Houston. He hasn't missed one yet.
Oh, really?
He's on this trip with and his friends. Like, they love it.
Yeah.
So I know I'm on to something. I listen to the kids.
Is there any desire to, knowing how good you were in isolation and everything, that there was something like this when you were around?
Yeah, I would have loved this. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I would. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, you're good.
I would say this: if Kyrie was on this platform, he probably would be bigger in this than he is in the NBA.
Really?
Because the kids love Kyrie, and this is tailor made for him.
Yeah.
His style of play.
Who were you gonna say
No,
something?
it's funny. Our games in this facility and the pickup games for the pros were always up to 7-2. So they understand that it's like, it's a quick turnaround. It's intense. You got to continue. You got to play hard. They're not looking to play long.
No.
That's exactly what it is. And for people that don't know, listen, the people that are listening to this, some of you guys don't know, go to YouTube and look up some of the Tracy's highlights. They're real. Like I'm talking about, they are real. I get a lot of times with the clients, I'll show them MJ clips, I'll show them Tracy stuff, I'll show them they'll be, that's Photoshopped. I'm like, no, it's not Photoshopped. That's like, that's what it was about.
No, I believe it. I witnessed it. No, it's a really cool concept. So did you ever play in those pickup games, or were you mostly here for the rehab?
No, I had to play pickup.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
we weren't going to allow him. We'd never allow a client to leave here not having faith and trust in himself that he could go out. And I'm not. We're not talking about. We're talking about pickup games with the other high end pro guys.
Sure.
Yeah, there's no entertainers, there's no rappers in here,
there's
no musicians in here. This is like, I didn't allow that with NBA referees.
Yeah. No, I had to, because again, you got to get past that mental block.
Yeah.
So
and it wasn't like the other guys were like, oh, Tracy's just coming back. They were like, no, we coming at you.
Yeah.
We had Dwayne on a couple weeks ago. And we just, we talked about memorable moments or whatnot. What's something that sticks out from those games? Everyone loves talking about those games, Is there anything?
I mean, for me, man, it was just trying to get back right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was just that the right set of guys that was in the building for me to gain confidence and feel like I belong again, right? Because it was such a long, tough road for me to go down. Yeah. To even get that feeling back. It took me 2 years to be pain-free after that surgery.
How do you feel now?
I feel great.
Really?
Yeah, I feel great.
No bother at all?
No, I don't play no more, but, I'm still physically active, but I feel great.
Yeah.
Now, also remember, somebody that's as talented and as great as he was, to have to walk through the front door, or actually he's come through the back door, stick your head in the gym, and see everybody else working on the court and being in the skills and doing all that other stuff, and you can't do it yet.
Yeah.
You can't do it. Everybody's going through drills, everybody's practicing, everybody's on the court doing individual instruction and so forth, all that stuff. And he's got to stand there and look and just like, I can't do this. I can't do this right now. You know, and the thing is, go to the training room, go to the locker room, go to the hot tub, go to the cold tub, underwater treadmill, go to the therapy room, go into the weight room. Everything but the basketball.
You got to think, I was shackled. I couldn't touch the court for a while. I mean, for a while I couldn't play, and it was. I love the game. I love to compete. And you got to think, the guys that are in there hooping, like, these are not low-level guys. These are all-stars and future Hall of Famers that are in this gym playing basketball. And I can't play. Right? I got to rehab. I got to do pool work. I got to do all this extra stuff before I can even touch the basketball court. But it was motivating, though. Yeah. Right? To see that every day. It was really motivating.
Did you ever think about calling it quits?
No.
No.
That wasn't even an option.
Oh.
No. Now, once I got in, into shape and got back on the court, I played a couple seasons. Then, I proved to myself, all right, you did it. I'm not the same player. I started getting mentally ejected from the game, and that's when I felt like it was time to call quits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Only he knew that was his time. Nobody else can tell him. I'd say, out of everything he's done, the greatest moment for me was when he got that call.
Yeah.
That was the call from? What was the call?
The Hall of Fame.
Oh, man. I texted him, right? I was like, man. I was just like, yeah. That was special. You look at it, he's still smiling now.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know.
Nah.
You just don't know. You're like, all right, the injury robbed me of, a lot of other things. Mm-hmm. Is it going to rob me? In the back of your mind, you still think that's that demon that still sits there, because you're like, if I wasn't injured, this wouldn't even be we wouldn't even be, there wouldn't even be a question. This wouldn't even be a question. But you're like, man, because that's what these guys, listen, everyone talks about team goals, yeah, and everybody has team goals, but the best of the best always have the individual goals too.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Yeah. Well, Tracy, thanks for having us. Where can people watch the Ones Basketball League, and how can they tune in?
Well, we work right now. This year is just like a proof of concept,
okay,
right? Just to show that we can pull this off. So we're not too concerned about streaming platforms. We'll, have that for the second season. But go to oblhoops.com and check us out.
Say that again.
oblhoops.com. You can go there and get a lot of details and follow us and see where we are in next city. But, streaming, that'll come next season. And maybe, for the Vegas championship, because it's going to be $250,000 on the line.
Oh, wow.
So maybe by then we'll have a platform to stream it on. But right now it's just a proof of concept.
One winner, $250,000.
250,000.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome.
250,000.
Tracy McGrady, Hall of Famer as a basketball player, Hall of Famer as an individual, and Hall of Famer as a business person.
Sweet. That's where I'm at.
Awesome. Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir.
All right, so that was Tracy McGrady.
I can't believe what great shape he's still in. And I always forget when I stand next to him how tall he is. I can just, every time back then you didn't see an individual's, 6'8". It's common now among the athletes, but back then to see somebody 6'8" and be able to do the things that he did when he took that picture and he's standing next to me, I'm like, man, either he's growing or I'm shrinking. I think I'm shrinking.
Yeah, we took the picture. I posted it too, and everyone was like, "Oh, how short are you?" I was like, "Dude, he's really tall. Take it easy. I'm not tall, but he's very tall."
Yeah,
it was crazy. But no, that was a cool situation too. That's his behind the scenes probably caught it when he saw you, and you guys hugged it out for 3. I don't think he recognized you at first, and you guys hugged it out.
Back then, I had a little bit more hair. It was darker, and I didn't have a beard.
So it's a little different.
Yeah.
But all right, let's.
And I was a lot heavier.
Were you?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Slimmed down as you got older.
Huh?
Slimmed down as you got older.
You have to slim down as you get older.
Mm-hmm.
You have to.
Weaker bones and weaker muscles and everything.
Huh?
Yeah, with just a weaker body composition and whatnot.
Yeah, as you get older, you can't lift the same. Your metabolic rate slows down. You can't eat as much, and I was back in the gym. And back in those days, I was, trying to lift as much weight as possible. I'm literally from that day to now, I'm what? Let's see, 30, about 35 pounds lighter.
Ah. Yeah, it makes sense why I didn't notice you then.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna
I've gone I went from a double XL to an XL to an L.
What's that, a medium?
To a schmedium.
To a schmedium? That's funny. All right, then we're gonna do a couple emails, and then we're gonna talk about what's up for next week, and then we're gonna get out of here. So we'll talk about the first one from Kurt. Kurt says, a couple of years ago, I decided it was time for a change. I quit drinking and never wavered from my diet for about 7 months. I went from 330 to 220. I felt amazing. I got tons of compliments, but never can really see a difference in the mirror. The same way I didn't really see myself get so heavy. Anything that could help this issue?
Yeah, you know what? It's one, clean the mirror. All right. No, and also let's clear your mindset, because what you're doing is you're still seeing yourself as the individual that's 330 pounds. That's what, when you look at yourself, that's what you see. You look at all the destruction that was going on in your life, whether it had to do with, mental stuff, physical stuff, whatever it is. And remember, we are so hard on ourselves. Everybody talks about other individuals, how they body shame people and so forth. But we are our toughest critics. So you've lost a considerable amount of weight. All the time now, you have these individuals, when they're paying you the compliments, you've earned those compliments. you may not be at the level that you want to be at. You may want to go a little bit farther, and you see yourself maybe even lighter than that. But see where you're at now. All right. Enjoy all the hard work and think about everything you gave up to get back down to this point, and understand now what's the next rebuild for me physically and mentally, so I can see myself, envision myself as a person I want to be.
That's good advice. Next one's from Joe. Interested in any recommendation Tim has for pre-workout powders/formulas. Are there any that he recommends that are healthier than the others? And if coffee's recommended, what about for the evening workouts? Does he recommend that there's no caffeine at night?
Well, here's the thing. A lot of the pre-workout things, they do have some form of stimulant in there. You know, a lot of it is caffeine to give you that energy boost. Me personally, I don't like to rely on them, because I don't want to put something in my body that's causing me to be more alert or be more energetic from a stimulus standpoint. I want to go in there and I want to figure out a way to elevate my own mindset by being able to push myself in there. But listen, if you schedule, if you follow the directions and don't take too much, they definitely can give you that boost that you need for your workout. They give you that little extra kick, give you that little extra energy that allows you to be more intense during the workout or get through the workout. But don't stay on them all the time. I always say if you're taking a supplement, if you're taking whatever it may be, a pre-workout thing, use it for a little while, maybe a month or 2 months, and then take a week off, take 2 weeks, and then start it back up. At nighttime, if it's affecting your sleep, I don't recommend it. So if you're working out at night and you're taking some kind of natural stimulant to get you going, if it's affecting your sleep, don't do it, because what's going to happen is, remember, you don't go into the gym, or you don't lift weights, or you don't do resistance training, all right, in a gym. That's not why your muscles are built. When you go work out, you're actually breaking down your muscles. All right. So you're actually tearing them down. You may get a pump, you may get your heart rate up, you may move a lot of iron, whatever it may be. But the rebuild starts when you go to sleep. That's when your muscles start to grow. That's when the workout that you did, actually the results, that's when they start to actually manifest. So people think that you go to the gym or you go work out and that's where you build your muscles. No, you're actually breaking down muscle tissue when you go there. When you rest and recover, that's when
built up.
That's where your results come in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I bet you a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah,
that's for sure. All right, then. What's for next week? Before the last episode's next week, what an audience, everything to get into before we wrap up here.
Well, measure where your results are. Figure out what's working and what's not working. And if you've been following this program now, you're at 7 weeks. Whatever workout routine you've been doing, it's time to change things up a little bit. And when I mean change things up, you can do increased intensity, change the exercises up. Don't get stagnant with it. All right, the one thing I want you to monitor this week, and this is going to be real crucial going forward, is how much time do you spend on your phone at the gym? How much time do you spend choosing the right genre of music, or the right podcast, or texting individuals? Are you actually there and you're focused on what you're supposed to be focused in on, or are you focused in and being distracted by this thing that everyone carries around with them.
Mm-hmm. So be mindful of that.
Be extremely mindful of that, because if you haven't been getting results, that could be the reason. This device that supposedly that measures your heart rate, measures all these vital signs, tells you how many steps you've walked, and all these other things can actually be hindering your progress more than it's actually in enhancing it. Mm-hmm. So that's something I want you to be extremely mindful of. I know, we give all these different tips. What you just talked about is people don't realize when you go to the gym, it's not where you're actually building your muscles. That's you're breaking them down when you come back. And when you come back home or wherever it is, by eating correctly and by getting your rest and so forth, that's where the rebuilding process starts. About these are all the different things that we talk about, and different things that don't come out in the public when we talk about our new programs, about the down and dirty that we do. And we talked about it last week, and we're just saying it's been in hiatus for a little while, but we're getting ready to start. We're starting adding to the mailing list, and we're definitely going to do one this year. So if you're interested, just go to timgrover.com/dirty, sign up to get notified on it, and get to learn not only how to rebuild yourself from a mental standpoint that will take everything else to the next level.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely go check that out if you're interested. All right, that's it for week 7. Thank you to our presenting sponsor, Gametime. And we'll see you next week for the last episode 8.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Went by quick, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.